So, this video is essentially for those who know. Those who are either fully aware or at least have some inkling of how prevalent cultism is in human society. If you go about your daily life not particularly thinking about cults, except as something you occasionally hear about as happening somewhere else in the world, then you are at the very bottom of the hierarchy. If you ever do begin to get an inkling of the true nature and scale of it all, then maybe you can return to this video. But this video isn't for trying to persuade those who are at the bottom of a hierarchy they don't even know exists that they are at the bottom of a hierarchy they don't even know exists. There are other videos out there that seek to do that, and you are very likely not ever going to watch any of them. This video is for those of you who know. So, where are you? Where are you within the hierarchy of your own particular cult? And where does your own particular cult stand within the overarching hierarchy of cults worldwide? Asking this question is like asking a group of people who are all adrift in the ocean with no land in sight for any of you, which of you is closest to land? Where are you? You specifically, in the hierarchy of cults? You are nowhere. Nowhere at all. You are nowhere at all because there is no hierarchy. A hierarchy is one of those triangular structures, is it not, that culminates in a point. Whichever person embodies that uppermost point of the triangle is at the top of the hierarchy. This is what hierarchy is. The cultism human society is saturated with is all about hierarchy. It tells itself it is all about hierarchy. And yet, there is no actual hierarchy there. Whenever anybody does make their way to the top of their own particular pyramid, what they find is there's nothing there, only themselves. There was never anything there waiting for them the whole time. It was always just their self. Just their self and the choices they have made. Just their self and the choices they are still making. The cultism of human society is not structured as a pyramid. It has the structure of soup. No matter how high you have been told you are within your cult, no matter how wealthy you have been made, you are only in a soup of lies no less so now than the day you were first initiated. What you and your cult does to those who are outside your cult is the very same thing your cult is doing to its own members. The very same thing your cult is doing to you. I would say here, regardless of your ranking, but that would not be true, because the more highly ranked you are within your cult, the more effective has your cult been in doing to you what you and your cult seek to do to those outside of your cult. You do know, do you not, what it is that you and your cult look to do to those who do not belong to a cult? You know what you look to do to them, and you know the various methods you use to do it. So, can you or can you not see how your cult does to you the very same things? If your answer to this is no, then let me simply ask you, have you even looked? Have you not even looked, just as those who do not belong to a cult do not look? You might want to look. The reality of reality is that it is the same truths that iterate in all places at all times, in their own scale appropriate forms. What is true for a person targeted by a cult they do not belong to is true of a cult member targeted by their own cult, is true of a cult targeted by other cults, is true of a cult targeting other cults, and so on, in an endless soup of people trying to get out of the soup they feel they are in. Cultism is endemic. Cultism is ubiquitous to human society worldwide. Human culture is not named culture for no reason. So, where are you? Where are you? What is your true standing in the hierarchy of cults? You are in the soup along with everybody else. And the higher up in your cult you feel you are, the deeper in the soup you actually are. Oh, shit. Yeah. So, how is anybody ever meant to get out of the soup? As a cultist, you look around and all you see is soup everywhere. No land in sight. So is this going to be it then? For the rest of your life? Human Cultism is human culture. Human culture is lie culture. Not because we are inherently evil, not because survival of the fittest is the great truth that none of us can escape, but for an even simpler and more foundational reason. Human culture is lie culture. Lie culture is cultism, not because it knows the truth and then chooses to lie about it, but because it does not know the truth, cannot remember ever having known the truth, and lies about that. This world is a world of children, none of whom remember how they got here. And what is it that happens when you have a room full of children who do not know the truth of why they are there? Well, they tell each other stories. Stories of what they think may possibly be going on. As time goes by, the children who turn out to be the more dominant storytellers, the more dominant personalities, become invested in their own dominance and what have you. It is the same truths that iterate at all scales, just in their own scale appropriate forms. So, why should it be that if it is the same truths iterating all the time in all places, we should not know what these truths are? That doesn't make any sense. The only thing happening anywhere is truths that are existentially incapable of not being true, iterating in oscillation. Why must truth iterate in oscillation? Truth iterates in oscillation because this iteration of the truths that cannot stop being true informs the next iteration. Just as every moment in time in all eternity is informed by, emergence from, the moment in time that directly and seamlessly preceded it. This is the nature of reality. The expression of this nature is eternal change, while the nature itself is incapable of ever changing. The expression of truth is change, while the truth of truth does not ever change. And what is oscillation? Oscillation is your heart expanding and your heart contracting, your whole life long. Your lungs expanding and contracting your whole life long. Day turning to night and back again, your whole life long. Oscillation is the turning of the seasons. It is going to sleep and waking up again, over and over again. Oscillation is coming into physical form and going out of physical form, again and again. for all eternity. Oscillation is forgetting and remembering. Oscillation is not knowing and then knowing. The truths that iterate for an individual are the same truths that iterate for us as the human collective, just in their own scale appropriate form of expression, form of iteration. Our collective lie culture, our collective cultism, is not an indication of our own inherent weakness and evil and selfishness. It is only an indication that we are currently in forgetfulness of the truths of eternal reality. A forgetfulness that is natural and could not have been avoided, just as our remembering is an iteration of truth we cannot possibly avoid. We cannot avoid this remembering. We can only influence the quality of the experience of it, just as we can never have a choice about the oscillating of the truth of our own existence as truth in eternal iteration, eternal oscillation, but only influence the quality of the experience of it. We cannot prevent the experience of it, only influence the quality of that experience. The same truths iterate at all scales, only in their own scale appropriate form. So, where are you? Where are you? Not in the hierarchy of cults, but in relation to your own journey, your own oscillation of forgetting and remembering. Where are you in this room full of blameless, forgetful children to being one of the ones that remembers? The child in this room who does remember looks about themselves at the children who are still in forgetfulness and still acting out their stories, and no longer fears them or their stories, only feels compassion for them because they remember what that experience was like. And where are we as our own dear collective in this process? Do you think we're getting close to waking up for another day?